Anybody hear anything from Doug?
I bought him a drink, figured he'd be here, so.
Okay.
Have you heard anything from Doug?
Let me double check, make sure he didn't send me a message or something.
Maybe he was smart like Dick and got out of here.
Yeah, I don't remember him saying anything about that though, but maybe he did. Your dad's not having fun.
We should go crash Dick's party.
Yeah, that's right.
I am.
Oh, yeah, you are.
You all right, Cletus?
All right, we'll forgive you.
Yeah, I had a picture of somebody sent it to me on the internet.
I don't wanna see
They won't
those.
be
I
there.
don't wanna see it.
And I thought maybe you might know them. I thought one of them was got it in the fire department, but I'm not sure.
All right,
And I told him, I don't know.
we'll start this off tonight with Chief Mason.
Well, Bobby Dodd, your turn to go first.
Looks like calls for service, we had a pretty good month for calls for service with 1,231, a little above the average. Offense reports of 125 was bringing right in average. Arrests at 62, they go up and down, but it looks like we've had, in the last 4 years, 2 Februarys that hit in the 30s, and we've had 2 that hit the 60s, so figure that one out. Sometimes you just can't account for spikes, but with that number of calls for service, that number of arrest reports, their offense reports, 62 arrests for the month is not a high number considering what we handle. 29 for accidents, more than last year, but less than the 2 previous years. February, I think the mild weather basically helped us out.
I was gonna ask if the weather had an impact too on the calls for service, and you know, last February was pretty cold. With warmer weather, people can get out and be stupid sometimes. Did that play a part?
It does, but they can do that in any kind of weather. It probably plays a part. You'll see here now that spring is arriving, you'll see some of our numbers trending up as the warmer weather goes. We'll have a lot more calls for service and more, activity when it comes to arrests for silly things and that you speak of. Because people tend to get out and tend to party a little more, and they tend to argue with their neighbors more, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Citations at 98, better than 2 of the previous years, just 1 less than 2014. So it was a good month for citations. Our overtime usage on the month, 10,589. I don't have last year's stat, but I can tell you at 10,000, that's a little high. We've had Chad off with his shoulder surgery, so we can fill in some of his spots with overtime. We also had some mandatory training stuff that took place in February, cost a few spots of overtime as well. So, and I noticed we did have a lot of court appearances. One thing about having stats of arrests being high and citations being high like they've been the last few months, our officers are subpoenaed to court more often, so we will have to pay out more overtime for those court appearances. So I would contribute that as a spike. I wouldn't be too concerned because we were pretty low on the prior month. What's about $7,000, I guess, or less than 7 for the prior month. So we'll be in good shape coming through. Alarms were a total of 47. We had 2 residential, 39 were commercial. We had 6 fire alarms, and those were the chargeable. It's there.
We've been able to implement that and get that information over so we can charge
Yeah,
them on the fire
they
falls.
should be reporting after each run to the dispatchers.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's a chargeable issue.
Okay.
And just the other day, I heard him go on a run. I heard him ask him if it was going to be chargeable. The dispatcher asked him there if it was going to be chargeable or not, or if it was a false alarm. So
Okay.
they're working together well and starting to document this and make sure that we follow up on it. situations, as the chief described, where we have one place that's constantly getting, false alarms.
Yeah.
And don't do anything about it. So, our Marks transition to Marks Radio is now complete. We're on the Marks system and using it. We still have a final few radios to get in that we're out for programming, but we're up and we're functional. We've had some growing pains with it, but we're figuring out some situations. But overall, the input that I've gotten, the feedback from the officers has been positive.
Okay.
And feedback from the dispatchers has been positive, so everything sounds like it's going well there.
How are things in the hills on the east side?
Just as rough as they always were.
Okay.
We're going from one 800 system to another 800 system, so you're gonna have those things. I think our city system is probably a little better, because our site's right there in Lucia.
Yeah.
But there are still, even in Forest Hills, places that are completely hidden. You get down around hole number, what's the first part, three or 4, over there in that low-lying area, and it's pretty dead.
So pretty soon here, Chief, you're not even gonna have to think twice of what the first part 3 is on Forest Hills' course.
He's
gonna leave his
house. You could probably jump the fence and get a.
Well, I bought a brand new set of golf clubs, and I don't have a golf cart on my property yet, but I do have a 4-wheeler, and I know the neighbors are thinking about, I could probably ride that over there and park instead of having to drive all the way around. It's almost Cliff Lexington, so, but think about that. But yeah, I think, one day of golf is going to be more than appropriate for a week, maybe 2. I'd like to introduce Captain Dave Herron of the North Police Department to everyone. He's been selected by Mayor Johns to be the new chief of police. He'll be sworn in on April 11th. It'll be his first day, so it's his first chance to meet all of you, and we've invited him in so he gets to see the committee and see what the reporting requirements are, and get a feel for it prior to his first day. So, Captain Herron, everybody. I'd ask you if you would, if we could go around the table. And you
Yeah,
could
Tim, why don't we
introduce
start
yourself.
with you and just kind of introduce
Tim
yourself?
Kelly, Council President, at large, Councilman.
Brian Johnson, I'm your Ward 1 councilman, being your committee chair.
Fire Chief Warren McCord.
Jeff Crable, at large.
Mayor.
Jay Morrow, auditor.
David Sidney.
And I'm Deb Cole at large.
Nice to meet you all.
And we're missing Doug Heffley, who is the 3rd Ward City Council representative. And also Dick Morrow, who is the 2nd Ward City Council representative.
And when these folks say they're at large, that means they haven't been caught yet.
Never convicted.
Never caught yet.
Yet to be proven.
Yet to be proven.
Dave, can you share a little bit about yourself with council members?
Yeah, I've been at Newark the last 23 years. Before that, I worked a year up at Erie County with the Sheriff's Department and Corrections. Worked 3 years at Cedar Point. Before that, got a bachelor's degree from National University in Criminal Justice, a second major in sociology and a minor in Spanish. I've attended countless trainings, but I've also got a degree or a from Northwestern University for Police Staff Command in 2005, and in 2012 I was able to go to Quantico for 3 months to study at the FBI Academy with the National Academy. So executive command level training, gives you masters and upper level, bachelor level courses, and you also get to interact with people. We had representatives from 49 different states and 24 different countries in our session. Friends I still have today, met out of there. So it's a great opportunity. In Newark, I've had the opportunity to do a little bit of everything. Big enough so I spent most of my time in patrol, patrol supervisor for 15 years. Was a detective captain or detective sergeant for 2 years. After I made captain, I was also the bureau commander of the Detective Bureau, Patrol Bureau, and Support Bureau. So pretty good perspective of how to run an agency. I got quite a bit of training and had the desire to be chief for a long time, so I'm excited for the opportunity to take over here and continue with Chief Mason, put him on track to do.
We had, I think, a good, competitive process in hiring chief. There was an assessment that was done through the Ohio Association of Chiefs of Police a couple of weekends ago. The feedback that I received from that group, all three of the candidates that we had put through the assessment, they felt would have been qualified to serve as chief and would have done a good job in that role. Through the interview process, I felt like Dave probably would be the best fit for what the department needs moving forward. And as he talked about, his educational background is outstanding. He's definitely, in my opinion, well prepared for this position. There's no doubt in my mind that he was going to be a chief somewhere, if that was what his desire was to be. And I'm fortunate that, I think we're fortunate that he applied and wants to be our chief, and I'm looking forward to working with Dave for a number of years to come. So Dave, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And I heard Judge Higgins say today what a good guy you were, so.
Wow, see, he sent me an email today saying congratulations. Wow.
Yeah, one time, I did it, takes a lot.
That's pretty good coming from
Scanner, you
that.
know,
Yeah.
your name was popping up all the time. My wife, I never will forget, she said, "Is that the only guy that Newark has?"
You guys are awfully nice. He said he wanted to be chief for years. I think he might felt the same. You know, you want to be the chief? I'm messing.
And I don't know if our regular citizens would like to introduce themselves while they have the opportunity and say hello to.
Ronnie Kidd, visitor.
Nick Ross.
Nick's one of our employees in the wastewater facility. He also is is president the right description of the AFSCME local that represents that bargaining unit. Also a citizen of Heath, and he's always really good about attending the meetings and understanding what's going on.
No.
That's right. That's right.
He's our meteorologist.
Yeah,
That's right. That's the best thing about it. I look at it and see if the weather's gonna get nice.
That's right. Depending on the length of his facial hair, we can figure out what the weather's going to be trending to. You must have shaved recently because it's been cold here now a couple of days, but now it's going to warm up later. There you go. He can grow a beard in about a half a day. So.
Everyone's gotta have talent.
Ronnie Kidd and some of these people that are here every council meeting, and that makes you feel better. It'd be better if it'd be full,
Oh,
but.
yeah, people want to know.
They're good people to know and to get to know, and they contribute a lot. And, you know, their presence always appreciated. Yeah. Even sometimes they ask questions and contribute, so we try to encourage that. But sometimes they're quiet as well. But you know, they're always encouraged to speak up when they have a good idea or a question. So we appreciate them a lot. The only question, the only thing further, it's not on the agenda. I had some questions from the officers, and I wanted to make sure, I wanted to talk in this meeting and see if people remember. Irving Wick East is a designated limited access highway from 79 to the bridge. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And that speed limit must remain at 50 miles per hour.
Okay.
Because did we not lower that once and the state forced us to raise it back up to 50?
Yes.
Yeah.
We had federal highway dollars extended or something, so we
Yeah.
had no choice.
And Hopewell Drive is the same status, is that correct?
Yes.
I have some questions from officers because of, you know, we do have some fairly significant accidents at Hopewell and Franklin. You notice that the speed limit was lowered between Franklin and National Drive, but as you're going east, as you're coming west, it becomes 50 miles an hour as you get on to that. But people know that. I don't think the first sign that says 50 is until after Franklin. Franklin, and that may be intended.
If you're heading towards 79?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
But it is 50 miles an hour. And I question whether that 35 mile per hour placement there on Hopewell is correct between Franklin and 13. As it is designated the same.
Oh, then it should be 35 prior to getting to Franklin as you're heading toward 13.
Yes.
Is that what you're thinking?
It was lowered and they placed that sign. If it is a limited access highway, is it a legal 35 mile per hour posting? The problem we're having is if people see 50 miles an hour and they see that light, they never slow down for the intersection. We had some nasty accidents, near misses, and we had people where we could see we're kind of launching, because you know how that's curved there, and that Linville side is lower. You could actually, before the lower, you could go over there and you can see gouges in the road where people were bottoming out or maintain a high rate of speed across that intersection. So I was trying to pick everyone's brain here. I know they've all been involved longer than I have in that decision-making process on what the speed limits are in that roadway, but it's something that we need to look into. And if we could if it is fine, we should lower it and post the other side as 35.
At the same point where that
to
50
Franklin.
sign is.
Yeah,
Is that-
so that the approaching traffic to Franklin from, at least from that side, is going to maintain 35 until it's raised to 50.
Yeah.
So that's something that I was curious if anybody knew anything about or remembered how that was done in the first place. So
I think that was always 35, and we reduced the rest of it to 35, right? And then we just put it back, it didn't change.
You talking about Hopewell now?
The piece that's 35 on Hopewell North, it was always 35. We had reduced from Franklin to Hopewell, and we increased it to 55, and then they made us put it back.
Hopewell has always been its entire length at 50 miles per hour since it's been
Until you hit the
built,
railroad
since it's
tracks.
been-
Railroad tracks to 79 was always 35.
I'm talking about Hopewell, not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Hopewell.
Yeah.
When you hit
The
railroad
old-
tracks,
where the old tracks were.
Yeah, with the bike
The old
path,
railroad,
railroad tracks.
okay, yeah, down
From
by the
there,
banks.
Yeah, that's,
That's the
and
only,
the other part
that's
was always
been
50.
35.
Now, I'm trying to think when that went to 35. I want to say that it's been a long time ago. We went back around because of the same with Irwinwick and everything. It seemed like it was police chief. I want to say maybe Dan Dubs was mayor at the time. And Butch was involved in it. Something because we were switching both of them, and they were going back and forth and everything what we could do and couldn't do. And I remember Irwinwick had to go back to the 50 through there. So I'm not sure about Hopewell whether.
See, I bet you John Groff would remember.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know that Eddie was around when that all happened,
Yeah.
but I bet you John Groff would
Better,
remember.
if you ask David Morrison, maybe he can get Butch's brain about it, because, you know.
I think they kept it at 35 at that end, because at that time, the Humane Society, the dog pound, had a lot of traffic in and out there. It was a business thing, wasn't it, Tim?
I don't remember,
But they moved to Humane Society and a lot of that stuff.
I know they wanted to slow him down to get to that traffic light.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting at the light and you're facing 79,
Yeah.
if that light changes or people are coming off, Linville is a problem with speed anyways. People
Right.
speed, ask Mr. Heffley.
Yeah,
They always
yeah,
fly
it's
by his
35, yeah.
house, and we worked with that, because that's 35. So technically speaking, as it's posted, it doesn't raise up, the first 50 mile per hour sign you see isn't until after Franklin.
Yes.
So, but people don't pay any attention, they know it and they're flying the other direction, so the question was, if it's 35 on one side, shouldn't we post 35 on the other side in an effort to slow
That makes sense to
traffic
me.
down?
That makes sense to me.
But I don't know, because of the Irvingwood thing, if that's
Allowed.
that portion. Right. So I remember enforcing was good the other day.
What I'm thinking, and I have a twisted way of thinking, I may not be right, but in my mind, that part of Hopewell used to be dogleg. So why wouldn't that still be 35 on that part of, see what I'm saying, Tim, remember? That part of that intersection Was Dog Leg.
where the Humane Society,
Humane-
where the Animal Control Center is.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's Dog Leg Road.
Yeah, so would that still fall underneath the?
But it's 35 at that point.
But when the road was cut through, it was cut through the whole way.
But you have some question about whether legally it can be 35 there,
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if it's legally 35 there. If it is, we need to post to the other side and get it posted at 35.
So that the 35 in both directions, the 35 mile per hour zone is north of Franklin,
Yeah, so it'll affect the traffic.
or west of Franklin, or whatever direction that is.
We
I
would
guess it's
consider it
west.
east and west, that it
Yeah.
would be east of Franklin Avenue, east of Franklin Avenue, off of 35.
Yes.
Approaching
Yeah.
the intersection of 35.
Yeah.
Because considering north and south is 13 and 79, Hopewell's basically east-west road.
But there is a 35-mile-an-hour sign that's on the eastbound side between Franklin and Hopewell, but you're saying there's not one on the westbound side? Is what
No.
you're saying. Am I missing that one? Am I correct? Am I correct
Franklin
by what
and
I'm saying?
I don't
Yeah.
believe there is one there. If
Not
it
even
is, we
going,
need to
not
get
even
another
going
one.
eastbound? Not even going eastbound?
There is one going
Eastbound.
eastbound.
It's
But
not
not
one
going
As soon as you
westbound.
come across.
You turn off at 13.
It's not there.
Yeah, when
Right.
you approach Franklin, you can see the 35 mile per hour coast.
Yes.
And generally that slows traffic down that way. But the other direction, they get out that light and they just,
Yeah.
floor it to get up to speed, because they know they're coming to a 50. And it's not posted that they need to maintain that.
I think you're correct. I don't think there's a 35 mile per hour sign between the 13 intersection and Franklin Avenue.
And if there is, we need another one.
Going west.
Further down, and double remind them that, but,
Yeah.
I don't think there is. And the other question, we've had a request for more speed signs. If you come out of River
And
Oaks
then no parking thing on the side.
and you turn to go eastbound on Irving Wick East, there are no speed limit signs until you get to maybe, let's say 35. So motorists that come out of River Oaks, turn east on Irving Wick, go up the hill, go down the hill, there isn't any speed limit, there are no speed limit signs there. Same with anyone that exits out of Hanover Mobile Home Park and heads up there. They wouldn't see any 35 signs.
That's right, because the 35 sign is on the west side of the bridge.
So we need to, I know there's a state minimum, I don't know if there's a state maximum on regulation of those posting speed limit signs, but we would like to recommend some more 35 mile per hour speed limit signs in that section for the eastbound traffic
On Irving Wick.
on Irving.
Okay, so we're talking 35 mile an hour sign between 13 and Franklin heading westbound towards 79. And a 35 mile an hour sign on Irving Wick heading eastbound.
Somewhere between
Where,
River
like,
Oaks
the- yeah.
and maybe.
Okay.
And it's, I don't know if that's, we'd have to have the county do it, because technically the road is ours, but the ground on the other side belongs to the county. If there's any issues with that, there aren't any signs there.
I bet we've got at least a little bit of right of way.
You'd like, I hope to think we
Yeah.
do. Just a consideration.
There's all just River Oaks is in the city, so if you put that sign just
Before
east
it.
of the entrance of those, of both subdivisions, you're still technically in city feet. Till you get over to the Shell property, then you get into
Uh-huh.
the township.
If you're heading eastbound, you go past the entrance to the villages of River Oaks and you're coming up that hill, that should still be Heath, because
Yeah.
those condos are in
The
Heath.
Ron,
Top of the
the
hill.
Ron Kruger hump is like affectionately called it. there.
Yes.
Right where his driveway is.
Yes.
Yeah. Put it right there.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, sir. That'd be an excellent place to put one. So that people were reminded as they come out of there.
Ronnie?
Got a question. What do we pay for those, speed cameras at Kaufman and up by the park? Cause they're like, what, 6 years old now? Have there been
Yeah.
any maintenance issues and what do we?
Not
what do they
really.
cost?
What, the one up there by the Indian Mound Park is solar. So it just runs on its own. It's not, neither one of those cameras, or neither one of those radar sites has been a maintenance headache for us.
They didn't cost that much, did they?
If I remember correctly, and this is quite a few years back, I wanna say that one was $2,700 and the other one was even less. I don't know why, if there's a difference in them, but I
The
thought.
solar one, I think, was more,
And then
because
the
we
other-
didn't have electricity up there, but there was power down there.
Right.
It's like half the
at the
price down
site.
here, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we had more than $3,000, just over $3,000 in both, if I remember right.
Bob
Been
could
a-
probably
been a
pull
while.
it up.
Those, I think Tony spearheaded that. I don't wanna say for about $10,000, we got the speed trailer and those two signs for about that total amount.
Is that something we could look into getting
So
some more
those
of
two
those?
standing locations and the speed trailer?
For about $10,000 altogether.
Okay.
And what I'm,
They have a calming
That's
influence
right.
on me coming down 79, down 79.
To
makes
flash
you
at you
aware.
a lot,
Yeah,
Ron,
yeah,
does it?
you see it flash and you think,
Like
oh, I
lights,
might
yeah,
go that way.
bright light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll take a picture of it.
You get over 50 and it flashes.
Yeah, they have a strobe that'll flash at you.
Over 50.
And it works on some people because they think that's the camera going off at them still.
Yeah, yeah.
We actually didn't, when we first installed those, we turned that function off. Because people were thinking they were still getting the cameras, and we didn't want them to think that we hadn't removed all of the cameras. So we turned that function off. But this one here, I don't know that the one on up by Mound Builders has that one. I'll have to check and see if it gives you a stroke.
Yeah,
But
it
they're set
does.
for a 50 mile
It
an hour
does.
high speed, it flashes.
It does.
Bright white
Yeah.
light at you.
Every time we come home from work.
The only issues we did have, the one, we had to have repairs on the solar
Hit
part.
35 before it's done.
Yeah.
At one point, but it wasn't much.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you get a good long week of dreary weather, I've seen where
Where it won't
other
work.
batteries ran down.
Yeah.
I think that's what we had to replace the rechargeable battery on.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
But the trailer is working well on Licking View right now, because every time you go up there, you slow down, just watch, and you see people hit their brakes, it tells them slow down now, and they are.
Uh-huh.
They're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good place to put that trailer.
Those are great, I mean.
Bob wanted just to get it out at Red Groves. I think he was tired of being embarrassed.
Speaking of ramping.
Well, here a while back, Troy and I went down to Zanesville, we went down 16 back way to Dillon. We come back and I come across that road there we used to talk about a while ago, turns into urban, this turns into, what is that road that comes back in the river up there?
River Road?
No.
You talking on Hopewell 13, Linville?
Limbo Road? Where you come back from Zanesville?
Uh-huh.
You come back Limbo Road that way?
Oh, Linville Road.
Okay.
I thought I was in the middle of a road race. I never seen any cars drive that fast in my life. On that little two lane.
They get out there, because, OSP doesn't work that part, and, of course, we only have a short section of it. The rest of it is all out in the county, the sheriff's office.
Yeah, this is out there
They're just
where
so,
the big long hills were. Man, they drive.
they run from call to call, so they don't. That'd be a good place enforcement, I'll tell you. I live out on Linville Way. I can tell you on Sunday, there's some guy on a motorcycle, and he's been doing it for years. If it's a nice Sunday, he comes in, you hear him coming into town just as he gets out of Heath, he gets it in high gear, and he must be doing 100 by the time he passes the spot where I live.
Wow.
You just hear him wide open, I mean, he's just killing it.
Spike strips.
I keep listening every year to hear if I hear bang, bang, bang crash and then a bunch of sirens, because I think that's the way it's gonna end. Hopefully
I
he doesn't
said,
take.
you're never coming on this road next year. They will drive, they must have been
They'll
going
pass
80
you.
and 90 somewhere.
I can tell you how many times I've narrowly avoided a collision slowing down on Linville Road. We always have to check our rear and side view mirrors to see if somebody's gonna try and pass us as we're trying to turn left. Where we live, they will.
The thing that gets me with Irvingwick, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 50 on both sides of that intersection, so couldn't you technically come through that traffic light at 50?
On which one are you talking about?
Irvingwick, right here. The traffic light at Irvingwick and 79.
No, it's lower, doesn't it? It lowers to 35 before you get to 79.
But if you're
Does
coming,
it?
if you're coming west, as you get up to right before where you would cross, the bike path crosses, it slows down.
Yeah, it's 35 from there to the street, and then it goes back up to 50 on the other side.
So, Whispering Pines is at 50 in front of your street. So then it slows down to 35 between Whispering Pines and the intersection.
Well, what you have to remember is the history of the build over there. The part of Irvingwick that isn't limited access highway, I think was always there. We had Liberty Drive and some other access there. So I think that's how they get away with that. Or if it is, it does it not have a sign there that drops it to 35 before you get to 79?
Cletus.
No, there's.
No, I'm talking about on the other side. I know in Irvingwick West.
On the corner down right at the other side of Bar, about 2
Yeah,
points.
pretty sure coming.
Yeah, but if you
west.
went, Irvingwick West is
79.
another one that was built limited access highway that they used funds for, so you can't touch the speed limit on it until you get to the old part where they lower it at the railroad tracks to 35 to get the.
Yeah, I asked John to check
Corner.
on it to see if he could lower it there, you know, we'd get the Whispering Pines, but we couldn't, the way it was written, it has to be 50 from 79 all the
All
way.
the way to the railroad tracks. So it is it's a safety issue, it really is. You know, most of those roads though, 1 or 2 driveways. So that's why they classify it as that, but once you step in and you use state funds or federal funds and it gets that designation, you really have no control over it. So I guess we'll need to talk to Mr. Morrison and see if he can talk to Butch and see what his memory is about that. But I know we can do the one sign. But Mr. Kidd, I think that's a good idea. I think we could research and see what those signs cost. Maybe one of those illuminated line lights like we have at the park that runs on solar might not be a bad addition over here.
There's a group of us watched on coming back to Irvingwick, they're off of Whispering Pines. It's just like you said, the only ones that really speed is motorcycles. Sometimes from 79, there's 2 or 3 drivers, I don't know of them, but they'll get close to 100 before they get.
Thank you.
It's just like a street.
So, some of these bad spots where we have people talk about that we know are regular spots, maybe those kind of safety measures with the warning signs that are lit and run on solar and stay there permanently that are relatively low in cost would help some of those. Might help Mr. Heffley in his area there if we, on that curve coming into town, drop one to remind people.
Sounds like there's several places we need to be considering. Is there grant money possibly available for something like that, or?
If you're the county or a big city, I mean, I could talk to should talk to Mr. Brining over there at the grants, with the state, what's his Department of Public Safety? Maybe there's something there that's available. I do know that says we're gonna be available for some grant money, and he's supposed to be getting these applications for that for extra enforcement measures where they'll pay overtime to put an extra officer on the street to do nothing but work traffic. Probably use that up this summer.
Was that because of the fatals that we've had?
And fatal numbers put us up into the range where we can ask for that money. They make very little money available to small municipalities. The monies are generally going to the bigger areas, counties, task force. Columbus gets a ton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, these big metropolitan areas. And as Chief Warren, he knows that it's tough for a little place like us to get a significant grant. But if we're talking $2,700, we do have some monies available to us that we can purchase those with law enforcement trust.
It's a rounding error for some of those bigger agencies.
Oh, absolutely. We could.
So the trust fund might be eligible for something?
I think we talked to Mr. Morrison. I think if it's a viable option to use that money for that, because it's a through law enforcement purpose. I think it's a safety issue, and we might be.
I think we could make that case, yeah.
I mean, Verbo was bouncing around a dozen different spots, key spots, and half a dozen different roads that are very good, viable candidates for this.
I think start with a couple of the worst places, and then every year maybe build upon the program. That's the way.
I'll tell you what, it is hard to go 35 on Irving Wookies. That is hard.
We'll let the road deteriorate a little more for you, Mark. Maybe to slow it down a bit.
Bunch of potholes.
I mean,
The other
it's,
consideration on Irving Lake East is the heavy amount, we get a lot of foot traffic.
Yeah.
Between Nadine and the bike trail, so any way in the future to expand that bike trail along that road or some way to get past.
to keep them off the edge of the road.
Because they will not go the extra mile and go up Nadine, over to River Oaks and come through that way.
Yeah.
So they just rather walk along the road since it's a shorter route, even though it's dangerous.
You're gonna flood it, road.
And even though their purpose is to be out walking.
They are generally people that live in the Nadine, Green Valley Drive area that do not have driving privileges, and they're actually walking to work, for the most part, walking and shopping. A lot of them are walking and riding bicycles to work, because they don't have a car, they don't have driving privileges, but you gotta commend them for at least getting out there and doing something. And trying to get to work. I've actually stopped and given lots of rides to folks in the bed of my pickup truck. You know, I pull up in uniform on my way home and say, come on, I'll give you a ride, sit down on your rear end, and I've done bicycles and people in the back of that and drove them maybe just to get them out of that area. Because we had an accident, was it last year or the year before? I was struck right around Kruger's,
Yeah.
Is it legal to ride in the back of a pickup truck like that?
Absolutely, if you're sitting on your rear end.
You're with the chief of police.
And you're over the age of.
Depends on the speed of travel.
You have to be
There's a slight exemption here.
You have to be over the age of 14, and you can sit on your rear end. You have to be down, and you can't be up on the rails, you have to be down.
Down in, up against the back of the.
Anywhere as long as your rear end is sitting on the bed of the pickup truck and not up on the sides, you have to be.
Is there a restriction on speed?
No. Is there, is it 50? 35?
Yeah.
So I'm legal there. As far as you know.
According to the sign over there.
That's right, yeah.
It's really hard to
Well,
go
like I said,
35.
it's hard to go 35.
You've been following Geller too much, haven't you?
Our officers can sit out there and write tickets for 55 to 65 miles an hour.
All day long.
Oh, yeah.
And
Right
they
there
are-
where that lift station is.
Bornwood,
Just-
it's the same.
55 is the new 35, as they say.
It's
Franklin
so
Avenue.
Sequoia goes.
So it's 25 Franklin Avenue, bigger tickets. only
Franklin
out
Avenue, they will sit at the end of Franklin Avenue and
That's
write tickets all
25.
day
That's
long.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Especially southbound.
Yep.
Southbound, you sit there at the bottom of the hill there, they sit there and just write all day.
You know, I don't know. I don't know if my timing is just bad or whatever, but when I'm on Hopewell, heading towards 79, you go past Franklin, you hit that 50-mile-an-hour zone. I always seem to be behind people that are only going like 40 or so, and I wish I had a big flashing sign that says "Go 50." You know? So I don't know. Maybe I'm just driving at the wrong times. Where
What street is this?
on Hopewell. Yeah, where it's 50 and they're going 40.
Looking at Wiki View.
Let's come back from Kroger's the other day, right here on
Do we still?
this side of Heath Road from Bob Evans. There's a car going down through there. This guy, he had enough hair for all four of us here, you know.
Jealousy
And
will
his
get you
girlfriend,
nowhere.
and his wife was sitting over in the passenger seat and bouncing her baby on her knee. And then here come one of our officers heading north. And her and the baby both disappeared. I don't know if they crawled on the dash or not, but I think they thought they would be dead. I was kinda hoping they would, but.
Do we
So
still
the
only get like
close,
about, do we
what's
still only
that,
get like
sir?
about $8 for a ticket?
Yeah,
net?
about that,
$8.
about that out.
It's hardly worth the paper and time it takes to do it.
We lose money. Every time we write a ticket up, we're actually losing money, but we're improving safety. But
Yeah.
Especially goes to court.
Who gets all that? Court?
how do we change that mix?
The most of it goes to the court system.
Who come up
The
with that
state gets a
formula?
little bit, the Licking County Municipal Court clerk.
State gets
the judge.
39 on a traffic ticket and 80 for local.
And we write most of ours under the local ordinances for speed and whatnot. DUIs, we generally use the state code because our code has been challenged and it's not really that great. The state code changes all the time for OBIs. Always best to use the state code for that. So if you use the state code, you get back less. If you use our city code, you get a little more back on those state bonuses.
What, maybe like $10?
Probably $8 is what we get if we write under the state, we get less than that. So it is that is the way it is, and that's why, you know, when you see an increase in the fees and fines, generally, it's not the money that's coming back to municipalities, it's because the municipal court or the state or whoever
It's
is
taking more,
increasing
yeah.
the cut they need.
Communities that have mayor's courts, I think, capture that revenue.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Rice.
No, not really. Not really.
What you have to think of for that, you have to pay someone to sit as your magistrate, and you have to pay someone to sit as your prosecutor.
Yeah.
So most places, it's generally a wash,
Yeah.
unless you're running a little town like that. New Rome or someplace where you're charging them, you know, $800 for a traffic ticket or whatever ridiculous amount they were charging. But that also lands you indicted into jail.
Yeah.
Before I ask this question, I'm not suggesting that we do this before I ask, but can we increase the amount and collect more for the city? And I'm not suggesting we do it, I'm just wondering if that's actually allowable by law.
That'd be a question you can ask Mr. Morris.
Okay.
Permissive use tax, kinda like license plates?
I'm just asking, I don't know,
I
I just
think
wonder.
you may be able to.
The
I know
village-
Our schedules are similar to Newark, but there are other places. I'm gonna have to ask Mr. Morris if we can.
I guess I'm just thinking enough to cover our costs, because if you look at how overtime's mounting, you say a lot of that is due to having to go to court and appear in court, then it's costing us money. I know we're not in the business of making money, but it sure would be nice as the fact that we're just enforcing the law, that we'd at least be able to break even on the deal, and if we had to charge a little more on each ticket, so we can do the enforcement and not cost ourselves money, I think that would be a good reason to increase the amount of the fines.
You have to ask David that question tonight,
Okay.
have him research that. I doubt that he knows the answer off the top of his head, but.
I don't know how that would work, Jade, how do you think with municipal court, 'cause we've got a standard, if it's speed, it's this many miles, it's all the same.
I think if
When
you
it comes to
did it,
municipal.
it would have to go, it would come down from the state.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. Because if we went on just the Heath code, I think that they would challenge that and it would fall back to the state code probably. Because if you go under 10, it's this amount. If you go over 10, it becomes higher and higher, and that's, but that money
Regardless
all
of where
goes,
it
that,
is.
yeah, that money goes to the state or to the municipal clerk, so they get that high salary.
But to Brian's point, you know, you got $17,000 in overtime so far this year, and something to try to at least offset that, more than just a little chunk of a dent, $8 a ticket. When you know, as soon as you send an officer down there, you got 5 times that, 10 times that, whatever.
Ronnie?
There's only two states in the country that allow mayor's courts. That's Louisiana and Ohio. And I think Ohio's got 330 some of them. But the city or village of Bryce, once their mayor's court was taken away, they changed all their traffic violations to code violations. You don't break a traffic law, you violate a city ordinance.
City ordinance.
And so they're civil violations, and
Wow.
it's been challenged, and it's, you can get a $2,500 ticket just driving through Bryce.
Woo.
It's.
Welcome to our village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're happy you came.
You only need to come once.
And I'll make a wide circle to go around Bryce, and I think most, a lot of people, once they know,
Sure.
will do the same thing.
Goodness.
But I don't think any of those are state roads, are going through Bright?
I don't think so.
See, I don't know. Like
But
you-
they go from
you
35
do it
down
on
to
city
25 and then
roads
back up to
probably, but I don't
35
know
as soon
if
as you
can
get out of
enforce
Bryce.
it on
Yeah.
state.
It's
Where's it, Hamilton, Gender, is that where Bryce is, down in through there?
yeah.
Every once in a while, Dave, we go off on these tangents, and just start just shooting the breeze about stuff. So.
May have.
We know we're not going anywhere until 8 o'clock or 8:30.
Get some time to fill it in.
I have nothing else but to say that it's been a pleasure working with each and every one of you. Enjoyed my time. Thank you all for all the help you've given me over the years and assistance, and I hope I've been helpful to you when you've asked. Friday's my last day. Not that I'm counting, but I am bragging.
You've been counting.
But thanks, it's been a pleasure. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I do have one. You mentioned the offense reports up. Do the license plate readers, did they have an effect on arrests and citations? And I guess you'd say it really didn't make that much difference. You've had success with the readers though? I mean, they hadn't even hand out.
They work, but nobody's ever hit on one. I think some of the limitations come from the state itself, with what they're entering in. We know they work, but generally speaking, the guys already, when they find stolen cars, they're typing it into the system first rather than driving up and having to so there's never really been just an off chance that they got a hit on a plate.
You just think of all the wants and warrants and all those things that are out there, they're not, those wants and warrants aren't tied to somebody's driver's license or vehicle tag, I guess, evidently, it doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Well,
I thought you
the
guys-
warrants, the warrants do. If it's
They-
a person that owns cars warrant, they'll be on.
Did not, okay.
But as I say, most of the guys, when they're moving down there, they see the plate, they, rather than use the reader to read it, they'll just type it in to the computer and do a manual search.
Well, it's my understanding that the reader read like multiple license plates and just drove down the road. Is that not correct? Did I not understand?
It'll read, it reads better if you're sitting still.
Okay.
But or if you're behind someone, as far as traffic coming this way, it doesn't really read that well, especially on this wide 79. Our guys will sit in the center of the road and sit and come past them.
Okay. All right.
But they've never really had a successful use of it at this point. I know they work because I've tested them, but they've never really grabbed one for us.
Chief, do they sometimes take a stroll through the parking lots of some of the motel establishments that are in our not too far vicinity from here and get hits there?
They use them, but they've never got a hit on them. But like again, I say, generally when they're in there, they, rather than driving by, I don't know if it's had or not, I've talked to them, rather than there, they'll pull up beside the car, rather than using the scanner to read it, they'll type it in the computer. I don't think they have any faith in them. I've tried to talk to them, I know they work, I've been out in them, I've driven around, I know they read plates fine. I have test plates entered that I can drive by, make sure the system reads it, I'll get an alert, I know it works, but been no successful uses of it, where it's read a plate and we've got an arrest out of it. The system isn't, first off, the system isn't like the ones that the county and others have, where they have these, they're $20,000 setups where they have 4 cameras, 2 up front, 2 in the back, and they read like so many from every angle. You got 1 camera either, and it's reading straight ahead, or if you're going through the parking lot, you got 1 camera that's on the side. You have to drive slow and patient.
Yeah.
And they just haven't had any successful applications. I've had guys tell me they use them, they just never gotten hit on them. Now, we only have 2. And I've never purchased another one. I won't purchase another one because just haven't proven to be a successful product.
Yeah. Was there a I know there were equipment costs. Are there licensing fees, like annual licensing fees, or was that a one-time charge?
Just, it's a one.
Okay, so we have no ongoing expense with that system, right?
No ongoing expense with the system at all. It
Okay.
was, if I remember, it was a $500 or $600 add-on to get those.
Yeah.
It's just one camera, it's the system and some software additions to those two. So it wasn't a huge expense to get the extra camera, but like I said, with the lack of success on these purchases that I've made, I've never bought any more. We bought 6, we had 2 of them outfitted, it's just hasn't panned out. I think the guys resist it, I think they use their own sense and they type in when they think something is suspicious and might be stolen rather than trusting the reader to read it and get it in.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, we will move on to fire, 621, thank you, Chief.
Follow that.
Yeah. Okay, February report here, the fire runs, total of 48 fire runs brings us up to 120 for the year. That's definitely up from last year. A lot of that's gonna be due to the mutual aid that we've been running with Hebron, and also some increased mutual aid with the city of New York. EMS runs, we're up a little bit there also, and which brings our total for the year up to 444 total runs through the first 2 months, which is up again about 35 runs there for us. So, as far as our transports are concerned, they've been pretty consistent for the first 2 months. 93 brings us a total of 187 total transports that we've been paid or in the process of billing for. Mutual aid, we've had a total of 28 fire runs for the month of February. EMS calls a total of 13. I did do some research on that. Of those 13, we transported 7, total of 7 EMS calls that we transported to the hospital. 2 of which were, 2 of the other ones we were canceled on. We didn't really even make it out the door really. And a couple other were just non-transports. So of those 13, a little over half we actually will be billing for.
So, Warren, help me out.
Okay.
With the mutual aid given,
Yes.
what's the total?
The total given.
I'll add this up.
Oh.
30, 37,
Yeah,
40, 41.
For some reason,
Okay.
yeah, that should be 41 over there. That's my fault, yeah. Between fire and EMS calls, yes.
Okay.
Forgot to add that together. As far as what we've received, it was dead even 14 fire and 14 EMS calls for a total of 28 runs that we've received mutual aid from.
And almost for each department, the same number of fire and EMS calls.
Yes.
That's strange.
Yeah. That legislative request will be for the second reading tonight, so that should go. And then our monthly expenses, February, we had a total of $12,578.98 worth of overtime, bringing our total to not quite $40,000 for the year in overtime.
Chief, let me back up just a second.
Okay.
The Hebron fire runs
Uh-huh.
that we gave,
Okay.
of 8, are most of those for the tower
Yes.
truck?
Yes.
How often do we actually, like, get there and have water coming out of it?
Actual water coming out of it, not as many, but the guys do actually get there and do work. They use it either to get up on the roof of places.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of thing. It may not actually flow water, but they are used to get up on the roof and do those kind of things,
Okay,
yes.
so it's not just going just to
Not
have
just going
it
and
there.
sitting, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as the monthly revenue, again, we had a total of 93 transports for a total gross charge for the month of a little over $60,000. By the time we get our contractual write-offs, our net charges of $37,000. For the year so far, we're looking at somewhere around $80,000 that we're due at this point that has not been collected yet for the first 2 months.
Yeah.
Equipment, we finally got our hose tester repaired. It had a leaky valve, so we weren't able to test hose at the end of the year last year, so they are in the process of testing hose. They should, they were given till the end of March to get all the hose tested in. The guys were actually supposed to leave today for Appleton to go over the final specs of the rescue, but due to weather concerns, they're waiting and holding off till tomorrow morning to leave. And they'll be there till Friday going over the specs. And then it should be, they were planning on delivering it to us next Tuesday, the 29th. They should be delivered, as long as there's no issues that they find over the next couple of days. They'll be delivering the new rescue to the fire station on Tuesday, the 29th, sometime in the afternoon.
Is that about a 9-10 hour drive?
It's a little over 8 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, to Appleton, Wisconsin, yeah.
We'll see how they get through Chicago.
Yeah. Yep.
So then you should appear on
Down in
Tuesday to
6 hours a day,
Springfield?
we've got through Chicago.
Yeah, then we'll, at some point, we've got it scheduled to go to Springfield. We have to, once this money is appropriated, then we'll go ahead and purchase the things that we need to in order to get it to Springfield. And
Which is the 25, right?
Yes,
Yeah, the
yeah,
item
yeah.
on the second reading.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we can't purchase any of that stuff until we have that money ready, so.
I'll give them some money if they wanna bring some cheese curd back.
We're looking at going the route of repeaters in our first out trucks versus buying all new Marks walkies. Those repeaters will allow us to repeat our VHF channels onto the Marks channel, and that would save us some money in the long run as far as buying numerous walkies or whatever. So that's just kind of an idea we're throwing around to see where they're going to bring in some of the repeaters to see how well they work, and if so, we can actually save some money.
Who's gonna bring them in?
Dave Skeen.
Oh, okay.
Is going to bring us some examples of those and see how they work.
Okay.
And that'll save us some money as far as.
Explain again, and you and Chief Mason have both explained this to me, but I'm not sure. There's still something I'm missing, I'm sure in this. We talked about how, like, if you have more than one Marks repeater at a site, it can somehow be bad, like it can have the
You can
reverse
get
effect or
you can
something.
get interference in between the two.
Okay.
If they're trying to repeat on the same channel.
Okay.
Yeah. But the repeaters that we're looking at are adjustable, so we can actually repeat on the Marks in several different channels from either VHF radio or something like that.
Okay.
So if they're on, the tanker shuttle, when you're bringing in water, can be on one VHF channel, and your operations could be on a separate VHF channel, and repeat on the Marks, and there's no interference in there.
Okay. So, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but where this becomes most critical is if you're dealing with multiple departments at a scene.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
And a lot of the county is still on VHF, they haven't went to Marks, so anybody that if we go to Hebron and we are solely on Marks, all we have to do is say, go to your VHF channel, TAC 7, and it will repeat to everybody that's on Marks operations channel. which
Okay.
That will make it nice, so everybody is still hearing the same thing.
Okay. Do these repeaters also act as boosters of the signal?
They boost the signal slightly. Per Dave Skeen, they should have a range of somewhere between 1,000 to 1,200 feet.
Okay.
So most of our scenes, most of our vehicles are parked within that. We're not operating outside of that 1,000 feet range, so we should be in pretty good shape.
Because that is one of the concerns of the Marks system, right? You get inside some buildings or whatever,
yeah.
it makes it difficult
Right.
for your signal.
That's one of the advantages of the VHF signals. They have actually a little bit stronger signal, so if you're using an actual VHF radio, transmitting it through the repeater into the Marks, you do actually get a little bit better signal.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The repeater, is it a mobile mount or a fixed mount?
It's a fixed mount in the vehicle.
Oh, in the vehicle?
In the vehicle,
Okay.
yes.
Because
And it allows you to program up to 25 channels, the ones we're looking at.
when I was in Kentucky, I had business radio and had a repeater I rented by the month, set up on a mountain, and I could talk from 50 miles away
Right.
to somebody that.
We
as
do
long
have
as-
repeaters in some of our sites, but this is a different type of a repeater, yeah. this is a mobile repeater. We can have 25 channels, even if we went to Muskingum County or Knox County or Fairfield, we can program in there just by the flip of a switch and be able to communicate with them also.
And it will broadcast at a higher wattage than a standard handheld radio or a car radio.
Yes.
Like standard handheld radios, 6, 10, 8, 12 watts, and your car radios are about 60. So most of those repeaters will go to about 100, so that they'll reach the Marks towers easier. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to hit the closest Marks tower from your radio. There's, you got Johnstown, you got Granville, Newark, Linville Road, Ofacker Road, Tascala. They all have towers.
And it'll save money in terms of the number of radios we have on the Marks that we have to pay fees for. And also keep, our volunteers, we won't have to purchase Marks radios for them to be able to hear runs and communicate with
that
us
would
and all
be
that. We would
a
have
lot of money
a
for
lot
a
of
little
money
bit
on
of-
a little bit
little
of
bit of
radio.
help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Not a bad idea.
it's a lot
You
cheaper.
know it'll work, or you're exploring whether or not it'll work?
We've been told it will work, and from what Dave Skeen said, OSP is currently using that system also. They have switched over to the repeater system for Dave Skeen, and they're having success with it. So
Okay.
I figured if OSP works, then it probably should work for us.
Yeah.
OSP needs it because they get into a lot of the remote areas and they could be miles from sites, so they were having issues.
Yeah.
But even when they were on VHF, they had repeaters in all these cars.
Good.
Let's see. We're exploring. We definitely need to purchase a new medic. So I guess there's been a significant price increase over the last year or so. We're looking at somewhere around $216,000 to purchase a new medic. It's definitely needed. We've been spending a lot of money on our current medics, nickel and diming us. So I met with the mayor and also Jay today to explore possibilities as to how we're gonna. Obviously, we have Fire Levy 3 that we can fund that out of, but as far as when and how we should pay for it and what means, so we're looking at those ideas. If anybody has any questions over that.
Brian, I know, I think maybe Jeff, you were there too. I know we'd taken a look at a couple of different medics maybe a year and a half ago, something like that maybe. Chief, why don't you describe, one of the medics that we looked at was actually Newark's fire department brought it over for us to take a look at. Why don't you talk a little bit about the problems that they've had?
They have the same style of vehicle that we're looking at. It's a Type 1, they call it. It basically has a truck chassis underneath of it. They run the Ford 450s. We decided to go with the Dodge because they, along with Hebron, they both have the Fords. The 450s do not have a heavy-duty braking system on them. So Newark, on all of the three that they have purchased, have went through several sets of brakes already within the first 2 years. The other problem that they're seeing is Hebron has the same Ford 450, and they've put 3 sets of injectors in them already. After consulting with
Does
Jay's,
Hebron have the 450 or the 550?
they have the 450 also.
The 450?
Yes, they've replaced brakes and injectors in theirs also.
Diesels?
Diesels, yeah. We talked to Jay from Jay's. He is running all Dodges now. He switched over to all Dodges for his wreckers, and they have the beefed up suspension under them and also the braking system, and he hasn't had any issues with them. We've consulted another department that has bought the Dodges, and they've been happy with their Dodges, so we're looking at the Dodge chassis versus
4-wheel drive?
4-wheel drive, yes.
These are all gonna be 4-wheel drive.
4-wheel drive, yeah. Yeah. It's only about a $2,100 difference between the 2-wheel and 4-wheel drive, so we figured that was worth that amount of money.
I can tell you, having a 2-wheel drive vehicle in my neighborhood when there's a quarter of an inch of snow is not the
Good
best
idea.
option.
Right. So, yeah.
So anyway, I mean, I know we looked at stuff, we were looking at some 450s. I don't see the point of buying a 450 and having them eat brakes.
Right.
You got plenty of police cars doing that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, it sounds a lot like the Dodge Charger.
Right.
Probably maybe need needs to spend a little more time on their police side and give a, you know, like if they've got the fire side fixed, let's fix the police side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Other than that, my new command vehicle will be here by the end of March. As far as training is concerned, we've got CPR and CPR instructor training coming up at LMH. We're gonna try to roll out a community CPR program. That's one of my goals, is to run out a community CPR program where 2 or 3 times a year we do a free in-house CPR training to any of the citizens that would like to take CPR. Promotional testing for the 1 lieutenant, 1 captain position will take place on May the 14th at CTEC. They are gonna do all of our testing process for us, and then we'll sit down afterwards, once those results come back, and we'll do an interview session to decide who's gonna be our next lieutenant and our captain. The SAFER grant was just applied for March. We were looking at seeing if we can get grant money for 3 additional firefighters and 1 40-hour inspector. That will be, those will be obviously full-time positions, fully paid through the state for 2 years. We have no obligation after those 2 years. We can reapply to extend those for another 2 years. We could potentially lay those people off with no effect, or if we somehow ran into some money, we could continue them with us at our cost. Either way, if we were to get it, we would get their services for free for 2 years. So we went for it. Other than that, that's
Was that Lieutenant Baker that worked
Yes,
on that?
I was working on that, yeah.
Yeah. He did a good job
Did a
on
good
that. He
job.
was in on that was his day
Yeah,
off, right?
yeah.
And he was working with you?
Yes.
Yeah, I told him to come Monday. I thought he was working, and he came in on his day off.
Yeah.
Didn't mean for you to do that.
Other than that, if no one has any questions, that's all I have. I'll breeze through it real quick.
Thanks, Chief.
Anybody else have any other questions? All I have one.
If you need any more information, don't hesitate, let me know. I'll get it. Usually
I got a question. How's Bailey looking on the hill so far this spring? Is he gonna help the Bulldogs out?
He better, yeah. He's the number 2 pitcher, so he better, so. Yeah.
I did have another question.
Okay.
Your position, well, those are promotional tests for the
Right.
lieutenant captain. Does the city still require that any new, even firefighters have medics, have their medicals?
Yes, they are required to have their medic card before they even apply. for
Before
the
they can be
city.
qualified for it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, anything else?
No, I have
All right.
nothing else, sir.
We will adjourn at 6:38. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, these.
We'll just go this way.
Yeah. Did Jeff get one, the rest of them?
Don't hit 10 in the head. Hold that against you for the rest of your career.
Excuse me, sir. Dave's swearing in as the police chief will be before our council committee meeting on April 11th.
Okay.
So that'll be at 5:30. I figure, I'm assuming there's gonna be more than a couple people that are gonna wanna come for that, so we'll probably do the swearing in over, next door, and then, I mean, it's up to you guys. I guess you can bring the committee meeting back
Come
in
back
here,
here,
or just
yeah.
leave it over there, or whatever, so.
Come back. That way people can leave.
Also, I'm gonna have Jenna reach out to you tomorrow morning. Jenna's my assistant. I'm gonna have her reach out to you tomorrow morning, put together a press release that we'll send out before the end of the business day.
Very good.
Okay.
Thanks for coming, Captain.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bring a copy of this?
What's that?
Thank you, Okay, 6:39, we'll call the finance committee in order. Okay?
Alrighty. I have 3 legislative requests. They all came out of Eddie's meeting last week. The first one is to accept the dedication of sanitary sewer extension and the necessary easements as constructed and submitted by Bill Mickey for the 3 lots located just south on 2nd Street near the southeast corner of Lindview Crossing subdivision. Anybody have any questions on
Further
that?
questions? please. Next.
The second is accept the dedication of International Drive for the Port Authority.
Questions, comments? Okay. Next.
And the last is to allow the mayor to enter an agreement with ODOT and sign preliminary legislation for LIC-CR 311-01.62 Linville Road, PID-99502. Please don't ask me what all that means.
Anything else?
Not designation there. Tim, let me ask you a question related to this. Talked to Jan Wilkin on Friday, and the engineers or whatever were out there surveying. It's been 2 or 3 weeks now. You go through there, they still have the wooden stakes, kind of in the ground there. They were not notified as to what work was being done. They just saw, their people out there, and so they went out and asked, and they were told, yeah, we're doing this for the city or whatever. Obviously, Jan isn't somebody that would make a stink about it or whatever, but should somebody have sent them a letter beforehand saying, you're gonna be seeing some people poking around and this is why?
Yeah, it would be good to do that, notify people if you're gonna be out there, just so people aren't, what's happening, start having, but you don't legally have to. Surveyors have the right to go on people's property to do stuff, to survey and stuff like that.
Okay.
And everything. But it's kinda like, if you tell them, or you're gonna be on their lot, if you're gonna be in a whole lot, if you're just going down like the property lines and stuff, and just trying to find like a pin or two to try to tie into something, but if you're doing a full, like doing contours and all that kind of stuff, take a whole bunch of shots down through in someone's yard, and you're stamping all over it, then I would, ahead of time saying, hey, we're gonna be out on, weather permitting, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, or next week, or something like that.
Okay.
Or sometimes we'll pass out, like, go door to door with a little flyer that says surveyors will be in the area, and, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stick them in, stuff like that. But sometimes it's like a spur of the moment, it's like, hey, we need to find a couple pins to start something before you actually go out and do the full-fledged. So it's just like, oh, let's go out and try to find, of course, you're out there with a shovel digging a hole trying to find the property pin and stuff. Sometimes,
Yeah.
why you digging in my yard? But most of the time you're like right-of-way lines or something like that, so you're really not,
Yeah.
is it their yard, not yard, anything. So it would be nice if you're going to be out there a whole lot of times to, notify people that, yeah, surveyors might be out in the area.
Okay.
'Cause we have a general.
Is that something that the city then handles?
City, yeah. Well, usually city, or depending on who you've hired to do whatever survey work and stuff. But a lot of times we send it out from our office saying, let's say, ADR, Jobs and Henderson, Smart Surveying, or just surveyors representing the city will be out, because maybe sometimes we don't know who it's gonna be, at the time when we send them out and stuff. But, it's funny, you can send them out though, but, sometimes the houses, people are living there that aren't the homeowners, so they may not get it, or, so that's
Yeah.
where, or you send it to the house and they get it, but the owner of the house doesn't live there because it's a rental unit and stuff, and then they're wondering why you in the yard, so.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
one of them things.
All right. Yeah, I was just curious as to
Yeah.
how Newark handled those kind of things, because she's describing it to me, and I thought, that's a pretty valid point, I can see.
We get calls all the time in our office, people will call and say, hey, there's some people out here, what's it, and a lot of times we don't know, because if it's a private surveyor, maybe he's doing a property survey down the street, in order to tie it in, he has to find monuments, maybe,
Yeah.
2 houses away, maybe 20, 30 houses away or something to tie something in. So he could be down there, with a pin finder trying to find their property pins or something else to tie it in, and he's allowed to dig to find that pin and all that kind of stuff, and he doesn't have to give permission. I think there's something, I don't, maybe, David, there's something in the That's why surveyors now have to take log classes and stuff like that because of that. There's something that in their licensing or something gives them the permission to look for them, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a professional surveyor, so I don't know the answer to that, but I know they can do that. And I know we can do it as city employees. We go out and do it all the time. You know, right behind the sidewalk trying to find, you know, the front pins or something to identify where the road right of way is or something like that. Sometimes even go in the back to try to, if you find one in the back, you maybe can find the one in the front and all that kind of stuff, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and just a couple other quick items, just to let you guys know. The first leg of our audit has been completed by Wilson Shannon Snow, our 2015 audit, so we've received some stuff back. They'll prepare, and that's all being sent to Schoenhart now. So we're in the process of, we've satisfied what we need to do with Wilson Shannon Snow, and now we're getting the information in from Schoenhart to kind of forward and anything else they need. So that phase is done. That was pretty harmless and fast this year. I don't know why, but it seemed okay. And then just so you guys know, if you get any calls or anything on, and Kim might bring it up tonight, but the tax office has extended weekend hours up to the end of March. Am I correct, Mayor? And then in April, it's Saturdays by appointment up to the due date. So just so if you guys would receive a call about that, it's posted out front. I think it went out in the on the water bill as well, but just give you guys a heads up just in case you hear that. We are selling full memberships too, but yeah, we haven't had too many yet. Yes.
Question on pool membership, since you just mentioned it. You pay with that with a credit card, or do you have to be checked?
Here, you can. Yeah.
Okay. Do you here? Okay.
And actually, when the pool's open, you can't.
So
sell
can I do that ahead of time, but say don't run this through until
No.
April the 30th at such and such? I have to do it before May 1st,
No.
and then so I don't miss by one day saving the $10.
Well, no, and here's why, because April 30th is a Saturday, and I'm
Okay,
promised
all right,
you that Bob is
okay, I'll go
not
April
gonna
29th.
overtime
So
us.
April 29th at 4:30 or 4:29.
Jenny will answer the phone. You can stand here.
You can try.
See what happens.
That's right.
You don't know how many years I've sat in here and go, I'm gonna pay the last day, and then be sitting somewhere and looking, go, oh, today's May 1st. Missed it by a day again.
Thank you for the extra $20.
Yeah, it's like
you
every,
donate to the
therefore,
city.
every year I do that. And then, the ethics thing, I think everyone's done their ethics, you've done your ethics thing.
File online?
Yeah, file online.
Oh, I haven't.
You haven't done it.
Donations.
Peter said he did it, I did it, Jeff, you done it?
I did it on, I think I did it on New Year's Day.
Deb, you did it? Deb, you done the ethics thing? You're all done with your
Yeah.
ethics?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Doug did it for sure.
How about your dad? Do you know if your dad did it?
I'll check. I
All
was
right.
thinking.
So you-
Let's do now. May 1st. I just.
I forget, you had to pay it by May or something.
That was May 1st.
May 1st.
Are you holding out to April 30th on that too, or?
No, I actually, after that night, I
Look at
decided, you know
you.
what, the next day,
Wow.
I'll.
It's
I'll do it.
$35.
I
That's
bit
why
the
he
bullet
can't do his
and paid
pool
him.
membership yet, he's got.
If you do it online,
Got all
guys,
allocated here.
as soon as you pull it up, you hit yes, the same as last year.
Same as last year, and pay your money.
Yeah.
When do you have to have your city tax, what is that, April?
Yeah, April
15th?
15th, yeah.
The federal's not until the.
April's 18th for the
18th
federal.
for the federal.
I thought I was done.
Well, then
I
maybe
forgot
ours
the
is,
city.
why is that? Is that a holiday?
It didn't make any sense.
Nick, look at the April 15th right there above your head.
No.
What's that say?
Right.
Tax that.
Huh?
I heard on the radio this morning.
Did you
they
do
were-
Oh, I'll bet they extended it. I'm sure I'm wrong, but because they have till midnight. So would they? Well, that wouldn't make any sense because they wouldn't be in here on Saturday to. I don't know. Forget what I was just thinking. I don't know.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm gonna have mine done before the 15th. Not gonna chance it.
Might be on
Could
the
you
board.
do East tax online?
You can't submit it online, you can do it online. You just have to print it out and submit it.
Besides, don't you wanna come say hi to the good folks in the tax department and drop it off and say hi? So don't you wanna come in and say hi to the good folks in the tax department and chat with them and stuff?
Yeah, I'll just bring the paperwork over here. Your hand out and grabs it tonight. I disappear and they do it.
They come find you and say,
Yeah.
sign here. Other than that, that's, all I have.
Anything else for finance? Okay, adjourned at 6:50.
Might as well do carcass real quick. Cletus, you're gonna do the, invocation? And then we need someone to excuse Mauro and Heffley,
I'll do that.
and then